Welcome to Real Success Stories. My name is John Wadsworth, president of Strawn & Company Insurance. I'll be your host as we bring you exciting content featuring exceptional individuals and organizations. Throughout my professional career, I've witnessed many talented people build successful businesses and significantly impact their communities. We will now have the opportunity to bring these stories to you. We'll have the privilege of speaking with business owners and highly successful individuals who are involved in a wide variety of industries. We will see success defined in many different ways. Our guests will share their stories of how they built their businesses to reveal strategies that you can duplicate in your endeavors. We'll get to experience the human side of success as we identify the challenges and obstacles that entrepreneurs endure. We will see the thin line that separates giving up from true success. Along the way, we'll have the opportunity to speak with nonprofit organizations that are creating opportunities for success in their communities. Another goal of this program is to give these great organizations broader exposure and awareness to help continue their success. As a listener, we hope you feel encouraged to support the organizations that we feature. Through this open and honest forum, we aim to build community and foster success among all who wish to pursue their dreams. You will hear real success stories of people just like you and me. Thanks for listening, and check back regularly for new episodes. Make it a great day. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Real Success Stories. I'm John Wadsworth, president of Strawn & Company Insurance, and I'll be your host today. We're very excited and privileged to have today's guest, Ms. Marcia Taylor, owner, chairman, and CEO of the Bennett Family of Companies. Marcia, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, John. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you for having us out to your campus here. Y'all have got a lot going on. It's a busy place here in McDonough, and I think our listeners are going to be in for a treat today, learning more about your journey and your companies here at Bennett. So, kind of with that in mind, I'm a little bit familiar with your story, and I'm sure some of our listeners are, but we also have some listeners who may not be. So, I think the best way for us to start today is just to open this thing up and tell us your story, tell us the story of Bennett, and how you got to where you are today with this very busy organization.
Well, it is very busy, and we're very thankful for that. I guess kind of my story as far as Bennett is concerned, and it starts when I, myself and my 3 small children moved to Georgia in 1971, and we moved into a trailer park, into a mobile home at the Griffin-Jackson exit. And I came here to go to work for a small trucking company. Didn't know anything about trucking, thought a tractor was something you drove in the field, didn't have any idea, but I soon learned a lot about trucking. And I met actually ended up coming to work for who was later to be my husband, J.D. Garrison. That was in 1971. And in 1974, we bought this small trucking company called George Bennett Truck Lines. It had been owned by a gentleman by the name of George Bennett. And he had 2 small contracts. One was with Sunshine Biscuit out of Columbus, Georgia, and the other one was Ford Motor Company out of Tucker, Georgia. So we had $500 in our pocket the day that we opened Bennett. And needless to say, that was pretty rough time. But we had some really great customers. I would do the billing on Wednesday. One of our drivers would take our bills to Sunshine on Thursday, and Mr. Flowers would write me a check on Friday so I could make payroll. So those were our early days. But, we had some really wonderful people that worked for us, and we just kept working, and we would get something paid for. We'd take it and borrow against it so we could buy something else. And so over the years, we always believed that the key to success is giving good customer service. No matter what, you give good customer service. And so that's what we did. And our business started to grow, and we started to expand, and we moved over into the flatbed, drop deck, into more of the specialized business, because soon figured out that that's really where our sweet spot was, where we needed to be. And in 1981, my husband and I traveled to Texas, and he had some shots to stop smoking. Long story very short, he developed a gram-negative bacteria and he passed away a week later, kind of leaving me with our company. Still didn't have any money, but I had really great people. And I was very concerned that, how's our customers going to feel about a woman running a trucking company? How's the bank going to feel about a woman running a trucking company? But everybody, thankfully, kind of took a let's wait and see attitude. And so we just all pulled together. And I still have some of the people that started with me today still
Really?
working here.
Wow.
Yeah. So we just pulled together and we kept working. And that was about the time that deregulation hit our industry. And so we just worked on giving really great customer service. And this is a family business. My children they went away to the military and then they came back, and they've all been very active in our business. And so we started growing. Because we gave such great customer service, that we would have our customers that would say, well, you do this, but what about this? Do you do this? And we would always say, no, but we can do that. And so kind of that attitude led us into becoming a company today with 14, getting ready to be 15 different divisions and companies. We just built one company on top of the other. That's kind of how we've grown our business. And last year, we did a little over $800 million in revenue. And so we will be 50 years old in a couple of years. And our goal is to do $1 billion by the time we're 50 years old.
Wow. And so when you and your husband first purchased the company, did you say there were 2 trucks at the time? Is that correct?
We started out, we had 15. Let's see, we had 15 trailers and 5 trucks, I think it was, yeah.
And roughly, what is your fleet capacity today?
We have a little over 4,000 trucks and drivers today.
Wow, that's amazing.
And we could use another 1,000 easily.
Yes, ma'am. Wow, what an incredible journey from point A to point Z. Everything that must have gone on along the way. That's just incredible how far you guys have come, from right here on the south side of Atlanta, and still being a family owned and operated company. We're not talking New York,
right,
venture capital money or anything here. We're talking
yes,
real people.
Right.
Came in here and accomplished this.
Yes, they did. We're family owned. We're a faith-based company, and we're still privately held.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we're one of the few trucking companies our size that's still privately held here in the United States. And a lot of it's because we just have such wonderful people that work for us. We believe in the entrepreneurial spirit, and most everybody that comes to work here has that spirit. And we believe that, we should just kind of turn them loose. And it's amazing what we have accomplished and the things that we have gotten involved in. We have 14 different companies, as I said, getting ready to have 15. And a lot of those have been through organic growth or it's been through acquisitions. And we're always looking for an acquisition, but they have to be someone that fits our culture, because we believe that culture is one of the most important things that you can have. And we have a set of core values, and we try to live by those core values every day. I always say all the decisions we make might not be the most popular decision, but it'll be the right decision based on those core values.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So you mentioned something really interesting there that myself and some other folks actually had this very conversation this past weekend, which is in regards to culture fit and acquisitions. Of course, in our business, in the insurance business, we see acquisitions in 2 ways. We see acquisitions among the retailers, the folks that work directly with the clients, so the agents, if you will, and then we see acquisitions with the insurance carriers themselves. And in particular, we're talking about acquisitions at the insurance carrier level, because a lot of times what we'll see, and of course, a lot of these companies are publicly traded companies. A lot of times what we'll see, an insurance company who maybe is focused on a particular type of insurance, a particular target client, they'll acquire another insurance carrier who does something a little different, and their corporate structure is different. And the thought is, well, we're going to expand what we can offer. But what we usually see as the retailer is, when those carriers do that, many times it's a 24-month of just, we can't hardly work with the insurance companies because they're having such a hard time merging their operations. And, people don't know who they report to. People don't know what their responsibilities are. And so sometimes it seems like the acquisition is made strictly off of reviewing financial statements, and that's where the whole decision comes from. And the culture is so important.
It's like the number one. And we have a lot of people come to us because they know in our industry, you think the trucking industry is large. It's really, especially because we're so specialized in what we do, we've always tried to limit our competition to maybe 5 or 6 different carriers in whatever industry that we're serving.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we've had a lot of people come to us and say, okay, I'm ready to get out of the business now, but I really like for my people to, I really like to join your company.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's mostly how we've done acquisitions, is just with somebody coming to us and saying, okay, we think we'd like to be a part of Bennett. And it has to be a culture fit first. And then, of course, it has to make sense with whatever our businesses that that they're doing, that, that it will fit in what that we're already doing. And so, when we bought Ace, Dorn Hauling and Rigging, they were over 100-year-old company.
Wow.
And they had just decided it was time for them to sell, and they wanted to join our company. And so it's been wonderful. It's been a great relationship. And a lot of the people that we have here at Bennett, one of the things we do, we have a lot of people that have spent most of their career here. And we have a lot of husbands and wives and mothers and daughters. We have a lot of people who are related that work here, and we like that a lot because we are a family company.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, that's, the fact that other companies are reaching out to you, whether it's just the point that they can no longer compete, but as the cost of doing business goes up, and they need the economies of scale, or whether it's an exit strategy for them, that's great affirmation of what you're doing and your company is doing, and a huge compliment. So that's really amazing that you guys have accomplished that, and continue to seek out and have those opportunities. So
we did a wonderful little acquisition last year, and we're right in the middle of one now that, as I said earlier, we're a specialized carrier. We do a lot of different things. Over on our specialized side, we move a lot of drop deck, double drop, and we were always a heavy haul carrier, but we kind of began to move out of that industry. And so with this new acquisition, it's going to put us back into that marketplace. And we have a crane and rigging company in Texas, where we have 900-ton crane and do a lot for people like Siemens and GE. We're heavy in the wind industry. We move a lot of blades and wind towers. We move a lot of the satellites that
Wow.
you see, that whenever there's a satellite launch, most generally we've moved that. We're heavy with the government, with DOD and DOE. We move a lot of the AA&E ammunition and arms that move in the United States. We're the largest non-union driveway company in the United States. So, for example, we move all the Winnebagos that's moved in the United States.
How about that?
Yeah, we also have a large pickup truck division, and we move anything that needs to be pulled that's too large to be hauled. We have a whole company that's what they do, is move campers and mods. And then manufactured housing. We started off living in a mobile home. I had no idea that would be one of our businesses one day, that we'd be the largest transport of manufactured housing in the United States. We also have an international division that a lot of our customers use. We bring in a lot of wine from Argentina. We ship out a lot of sweet potatoes. Those are just a few of the things we do. I mentioned our crane and rigging company. So, I mean, we cover a wide variety of different types of transportation.
Quite the diversity of services there.
Yes.
So is in without going too far into the weeds, I'm assuming the acquisitions are one reason for the multiple companies, the 14, soon to be 15. But does the separation of operations into different entities, is that intentional? And if so, what's the thought process there where someone else maybe who's listening, if they're looking at multiple operations, multiple service lines in whatever industry they're in, what would be a reason to break your operations into separate entities?
We're in the transportation business. A lot of it is for liability, just simply because in today's environment, there's a lot of liability. And it just kind of works for us. Bennett International Group, or Bennett Family of Companies, we've changed our name. They're kind of the parent company, and then each one of these companies are separate and individual. They each one have their own president, their own safety director, and then they report to Bennett Family of Companies, and it just works for us.
Yes, ma'am. I think that's a great piece to share, and with our listeners, again, if you're listening to this recording and you're looking at expanding your business, expanding your operations, diversifying your revenue streams, finding that attorney to help you set things up appropriately to separate liabilities, protect assets, that's a key piece of building your operation and protecting your growth as you invest your own time and capital into whatever you're pursuing. So, and I think, Marcia, what y'all have done is a testament to that.
Yeah, we just purchased a little small company out of California that we're pretty excited about. It's called Bridge Hall, and they actually provide the software for small trucking companies that are trying to, where there might be 5-6 trucks, and they provide the electronic logs. And so we've just purchased that company and just getting ready to get that kind of up and started, and we're pretty excited about that. So we have 2 new adventures this year so far.
Wow. How
Yeah.
about that? So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit for a second. You guys, both yourself as an individual and Bennett as a whole, you guys have really been recognized over the years for a lot of accomplishments in a lot of ways. I want to specifically highlight and just say congratulations that for the 18th consecutive year, you guys have been named the #1 woman-owned firm by the Atlanta Business Chronicle. And that is just such an amazing accomplishment. It's amazing to receive that recognition, to do it 18 years running, that kind of longevity and consistency. It's almost unbelievable. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask you to brag a little bit. So tell us a little bit about some of the ways Bennett and yourself have been recognized and some of the things you guys have accomplished, and maybe how the team and the organization allowed you to accomplish such recognition.
Certainly, yes. We're very proud of that recognition, and we were just named this year as the top company for women to work for by women in trucking, and I'm really, really proud of that. We were in top 100 trucker by Inbound Logistics. So a lot of our different organizations have recognized this, and it's because of the work of all the folks at Bennett. I mean, everybody gives their all, and as I said, we really try to give great customer service. We were named Georgia's Family of the Year. I just 2 years ago was inducted into the Horatio Alger Society, which I'm very, very proud of. Was also inducted to the Daughters of the American Revolution by here in Henry County. Very proud of that. Our heavy and specialized department was just named number one. We're Transport Topics Top 100 for hard carriers, and so that's just to name a few.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We're very proud of all those recognitions, but all that really goes to all the folks that work here at Bennett.
Yes, ma'am. Well, and something that I think is important to recognize too is how important it is to the community to have an employer like Bennett here in McDonough, in Henry County, in Atlanta, in Georgia, and the impact that has across so many people, even folks that don't work here. The impact it has, the sense of pride and community it creates. And when you do bring it back to the employee level, you think about each employee represents a household.
Mm-hmm. It's true. I think about that all the time and feel that responsibility.
Yes, ma'am. And I think, when a person can come home to the dinner table and have that sense of pride and accomplishment about what they're doing during the day, that goes a long way. And I think that's probably a big piece of what you've mentioned earlier, which is the longevity of many of your employees. And I know myself, as well as I'm sure many of our listeners, know some of those employees who have been here for many years and know that there is, when you meet a Bennett employee, there's a sense of pride. And that's a really, really amazing accomplishment in light of what we've seen in the last 2 years with COVID and the strain of employer-employee relationships across the country, in a general sense. It really stands out.
When we first developed our mission statement many, many years ago, part of our mission statement was that we will give back to the community in which we live and serve. And we've always tried to live by that mission statement. And the employees, the people here at Bennett, have just such giving hearts. They are very active, and they're always looking for things that we can do in the community. I'll give you a good example. Twice a year, we put together between 600 and 700 backpacks for the school system for children to take home. They're very involved with the Henry County Cancer Society. There's so many things that they're involved in. And a friend's house, Connecting Henry. We're involved. We support a camp. It's called Camp Anderson, to where we send our employees and drivers' children or other children to camp. It's a Christian camp. We're a faith-based company. We're very involved with the Boy Scouts.
Yes, ma'am.
We feel very strongly about the Boy Scouts. We're very involved during the holidays with Community Bible, and during the year, John Dewberry is our chaplain here.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so we have a chaplain that we do a Bible study every week, and that goes out to between 400 and 500 of our drivers every Wednesday, and John does that. And through our Taylor Foundation, we started. It's funny how I think God just tells you what it is you're supposed to do. You just got to listen. But we feel very strongly about that we're to give back, and we believe in tithing. And so we set aside 10% of our earnings each year that goes into the Taylor Foundation, and then we give 10% of whatever that amount the total amount that's in there is
That's
each year.
wonderful.
So we're very involved with Piedmont Henry. I have a women's center there, and we helped with the simulation room. We're very involved in children's. We just did a room there. So we have several, Clayton State University, and so several things like that. Plus, Taylor's very involved in a lot of the local charities as well.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Well, and again, your impact on the community, and those are very tangible examples. Well, I would wager that many of our listeners have maybe not connected the dots, but maybe now it'll recognize whether they have a visit to Piedmont Henry, or if they're working with one of the organizations that you've mentioned. A friend's house has been a previous guest on this podcast, that they'll see and recognize again the community impact that has been born of the Bennett family of companies. And it's amazing that you guys have taken that intentional effort to put the 10% aside, run it through the foundation, so that the foundation then can do the charitable work and change lives and help people.
And as I said, this is a family company, not
Yes.
just my family, but a lot of families here. But my grandchildren, I have 4 grandchildren and 2 grandson-in-laws that work at Bennett as well. And so they've really stepped up. So we have the Taylor Foundation broken down in 2 ways. The major giving, myself and David, Denny, and Lynette do that. But then the smaller giving, which is a lot of what might go into the community, my grandchildren handle that. And so they meet once a month and look at all of the grants and make decisions on what they want to do. And so we believe in giving back. We have been so extremely blessed. We know our blessings come from God, and we're so blessed. And so we just believe in giving back.
Yes, ma'am. So, and we'll come back and touch on this one more time when we wrap things up here in just a little bit. But if folks would like more information about the Taylor Family Foundation, can they go through the Bennett Family of Companies website and find links there?
They
Perfect.
can. Or Taylor also has a web page.
In the podcast posting, we will include links for our listeners, so that if you'd like to see the corporate website, the foundation website, we'll make sure all of that is included in the links for everybody for easy access.
And one of the things I should have mentioned is we just came off, and I want to mention this because several people in the community helped us. Patriotism is a core value at Bennett, and so we're very involved in anything that has to do with patriotism. And so each year we sponsor Wreaths Across America.
Yes, ma'am.
And so a lot of the people in the community helped us this year. And we were able, with their help and just raising money, we were able to go to Maine, pick up wreaths, and lay 20,000 wreaths in Andersonville, Georgia, the cemetery there.
Yes.
And that's never been done before. We've been able to maybe raise 14,000, 15,000, but never 20. And so we just appreciate everybody's help in us getting that accomplished this year.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And if you're not familiar with Wreaths Across America, I encourage you to pull them up and look at that program. It's a wonderful program, and I think a lot of our listeners would benefit from being familiar with that. It's a really great program, great accomplishment for you guys, and I love to hear that it was a community effort to do that. That's wonderful.
It was, yes. And we also had one of the Gold Star mothers who lost her son in Afghanistan with us, and they did a special ceremony at Andersonville for them as well. And so, anybody that would want to go, I think it was the 17th of December. It's like the third weekend, and help lay wreaths. It's an amazing event.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's excellent. That's excellent. Thinking about current economic conditions, current challenges, of course, we speak with a lot of different business owners in different industries, but what we are seeing is some very common challenges that are facing businesses today. Predominantly supply chain shortages or issues and labor shortages.
Mhm.
What are you guys seeing, and how are you facing those challenges?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we could use another 1,000 drivers. Our industry is kind of in a little bit of a crisis mode simply because during COVID, we lost a lot of drivers.
Yes, ma'am.
And that just the lot, our driving force a lot is aging out. And so they just decided to go ahead and get out of the business. So we desperately need drivers, trucks. And so we're constantly working on bringing in new people into our industry. In fact, we have a whole program about women in the driver's seat
Mm-hmm.
because we feel like that we have a lot of wonderful women that work for us, and that's just a great place to recruit drivers. And so we have that entire program going. But the same thing with, labor. We, I think we have several requisitions out there right now just because our business is growing, and it is really difficult to find people that want to work
Mm-hmm.
and that are qualified to do the work. Um, so I'm hopeful that will, that we'll see a little bit of relief with that. We are having some issues like most people in our industry. We have a lot of equipment on order that
Yes.
keeps getting pushed back. We just ended up purchasing several $1,000s worth of tires because it was beginning to get difficult for us to get tires for our trailers. So we're having to really look forward and try to go ahead and anticipate what there might be a shortage of.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I may be oversimplifying this, but with our proximity to Atlanta, our location relative to I-75, the port and its continued expansion in Savannah, the demands for quality transportation service are only increasing.
That's correct.
And so while on one hand, you're in a great location to capitalize on that, you also are in a position of taking or receiving the most pressure to meet these expanding needs.
It's true. We have a lot of business in Augusta. We supply John Deere with their product line every night. We have a lot of warehousing space there. And so we're finding that the Port of Charleston, the Port of Savannah is so extremely busy, and that's putting a lot of pressure on us as far as finding additional trucks and drivers to help handle that business. And as I said, we always want to give good customer service, so we never want to take on more than what we can handle. But it's hard to see great opportunities and not be able to capitalize on them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You said something there, and it reminded me of a recent conversation with a contracting company that does lighting retrofits in retail spaces, and they have a contract with a major retailer to do their facilities across the country. And this major retailer was wanting them to take on all of their properties. And of course, the dollars were very large. But it was interesting because the answer that this electrical contractor had for that request was, you're asking me to do this because I deliver a service at this top level. If you ask me to deliver this service to all of your stores, I cannot deliver it at that level. And then where's our relationship? And I kind of heard that that same thought in your last comment, that while growth is wonderful and it is all of our goals, at a certain point, if you're not meeting your standard of service, you're not ready to take on the growth yet.
That's so true. And when I first started, when my husband and I first started, when JD and I first started, we ran a lot of product for Armstrong Cork out of Macon, Georgia. And so it's funny how lessons you learn when you first start stay with you all through the years. So a lot of our trucks would go to Florida during watermelon season, and they'd want to haul watermelons back because they paid really good. And JD always told me, he said, you cannot let them haul watermelons back because then we can't take care of Armstrong. And what happens whenever watermelon season is over? And that stuck with me all these years. And so that's always been kind of one of my core beliefs. Let's only take care of what we can take care of and do a great job, because this economy it's going to bottom out one of these days with the way inflation is, and just depending on what's going to happen here. And I want to be in a very strong position whenever it does slow down, that the customers that we've got are good, strong customers, that we took care of them whenever business was really good, so they take care of us when business slows down.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's kind of always been our philosophy, but it goes all the way back to those watermelon days.
Well, and I think that's really that's really applicable to one of the goals prior to us recording. One of the goals of the podcast that I mentioned to you, which is providing some information that may help those that are early in their entrepreneurial journey, and early on, and this is whether you're an individual salesperson, a business owner, whatever the case may be. You're so eager to build. You're so eager to make the next sale, and knowing that strategically you may be hurting yourself in the long run if you take on more than you can handle, and how important it is to identify what your standards and expectations are and not accepting anything that's going to deviate you from that path. And so I think that's the fact that the watermelon story happened early. That's just so appropriate for one of the things that we hope folks listening to us gain from listening to these conversations. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's a good one. So, well, kind of along those lines, if you were going to if a aspiring entrepreneur was going to sit down and have a conversation with you, what would be one or two things, very high level, almost generic, but just one or two things that you would really encourage them with in their journey or advise them of?
As I say, we have a set of core values, and that's our foundation. So I would say, set your value system and do what you say. If you're going to, with your customers, if you say something, you do it. Same thing with your employees. And then set your goals and then just work to gain those goals. And don't be afraid. Over the years, that's one of the things I had to learn is because we've done some pretty scary stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
We still do scary stuff. Sometimes I don't want to know about all those huge loads that we have out there on the road, or that load of AA ammunition and where it's going. But anyway, you just have to not be afraid. You have to trust and do your best, and not be afraid.
Yes, ma'am.
To take chances.
Well said. Well put. I think, speaking for myself personally, taking chances has always been the big challenge for me. The establishing the values and expectations, that part was easy for me, but being willing to take risk has continues to challenge me to this day. And I have to really sit down and talk to myself and work myself through it when those decisions come up. So I think that's great advice.
Well, as I've said, we're a faith-based company. I'm a faith-based person. And over all these years, I literally have just put my trust in God.
Yes, ma'am.
And somebody will say, well, what do you want to do about something? I said, well, let me think on it and I'll tell you tomorrow. And so I've just always kind of prayed about it, and the answer just has always kind of come. And I just believe that you have to have faith and you have to trust. Yeah, and if you're going to take a chance, you need to know you got a solid foundation, and then be willing to step out.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's excellent. That's excellent. Well, before we wrap things up, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the listeners, or anything new coming up at Bennett that maybe for folks to be aware of? And that's whether it's the operations side or the with the foundation, anything coming down the pipe that you'd like to tell our folks about?
Well, we have so many different things going in so many different ways. As I said, we're just bringing on this new company that's going to be located out in Texas, and it's going to be moving extremely heavy, high, wide loads. That's going to be very good for us. And then also this new software company that we just purchased. So
Yes, ma'am.
we're kind of working on those things. As far as Taylor, that's just ongoing.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
just we're involved in a lot of different things, and that's just an ongoing love of ours.
Yes, ma'am. Well, again, we'll be sure that all the social media, website links, all that good stuff are included in all the podcast postings. So, folks, if you're listening, we'll make it very easy for you to keep up with Bennett and to get in touch with Bennett if as you like. And we hope that you've enjoyed today's podcast. Marcy, I can't thank you enough for spending your time with us, for allowing us to come out to your premises and interrupt your day to day. This was a treat, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you, John. I'm very humbled that you asked me, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about Bennett.
Most certainly. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the podcast, and that you'll join us again for the next episode coming soon. And we hope you subscribe to the podcast, keep up with us. And we're on all the social medias, all the podcast hosting platforms where you find all of your other podcasts that you may listen to. So we're out there. Be in touch with us. Reach out to us if you'd like to be featured in your organization, or if you have an organization you'd like for us to feature. Reach out to us and let us know. We always appreciate the opportunity. So thank you so much for listening, and make it a great day.